What's up, people? Welcome back to a special video. This time I'm gonna go over how to mastery this game in general, period. And I will share pretty much all the knowledge and and put everything into one video and briefly go over each point, the checklist, things you need to know, and and once you know all these things, you'll pretty much know the entire game. And but I'm gonna go over them as much as I can and briefly, because I did make a video pretty much for each topic, and if I'm gonna sit here and talk like details about each topic, it's gonna take many hours. So I'm just gonna go over these points, and then if you got any questions and stuff, leave in the comment section or anywhere, it's fine. But I am gonna point it all these towards my playlist, because I have videos on every single topic I'm gonna go over. So yeah, this is the roadmap to understand this game fully until this point. And once you understand these, I think it will carry on to the end game, whatever DLC, whatever new stuff comes out, and you'll be good to go. Who knows if they're ever gonna change anything in the future, but yeah, once you get these down, like these checklists, you're pretty much good to go with this game. And so with that being said, let's do this. So first thing I want to talk about, I have 10 points I want to talk about in this game. And so each key point is very important, if you want to understand most of them. If you want to master it, you have to pretty much understand every point. So it'll get like a lot of technical and stuff. If you want to get into that will be in the playlist when I specifically explain each one of these points. But for this video, I will put all the roadmap, the checklist together into one and briefly explain the stuff, rather than I'm gonna sit here and talk about 3 hours and then just upload the whole thing where you'll put everything covered into one, which that's way too long. I mean, technically 3 hours it's enough to cover this game, but the thing is, I mean, there's more than just that amount of time. There's just endless explanations. So basically, I'm just gonna go quick and make sure go in good pace and get to the key points, really. Because if you like I say, the details and stuff, that's in like the explanation videos if you want details and stuff. But so let's get to it. The first point I want to talk about is source skill and source skill connections. It is very, very important, because that's like the fundamental, pretty much, how you use the source skill, how you connect them together, and how you do damage, because that's pretty much the basic when it comes to damage, is to know which source skill to use and how to connect them. So you can do source skill connect with Billion Blossom or without it. With it will be easier, because you can just connect however you like, but just make sure don't go too slow or too fast, otherwise it still doesn't count sometimes. But it is important to learn learn the source skill connection without Billion Blossom, because that way you can do it with some stuff in the future, like the raids and stuff. It's definitely better to do it without Billion Blossom. Like the arenas, when you get to higher levels, you will not have enough room to put Billion Blossom on as a buff. So yeah, it is definitely recommend to understand source skill connection first before you use Billion Blossom, because if you use Billion Blossom too much, you go back to like not using Billion Blossom. The timing is a little bit off. So that is the key point of understand, source skill connect, and it's important, the basic fundamental. And the other thing I want to talk about is source skill connect. How many do you need really in this game? 1 through 4. That's all you need. to beat this entire game. I mean, you can use 1 to beat the entire game without any problem. So the higher the sword skill, the more damage you'll get, and that's no question about it. The same from pretty much the OSL. The more sword skill connection, the more DPS. But the thing is, in this game, you only can go up to a certain sword skill, but the best sword skill connection you can probably go up to, and the most efficient, is 4. Anything past 4 is for fun. There's not really necessary. Anything before 4 or 4, it will be like pretty much the damage. That's all you want. So yeah, I'm gonna move on to the next topic. Next topic I want to talk about is build. What is builds in this game? Like, I have so many builds, countless, every weapon, every type, many different ways. There's no a single way to make a build. That's the key point. There is no build out here. I mean, you can copy a build, but the thing is, you have to understand how the build works. It's not something like I just copy this and it will work, because like I say, some people, I don't mind, if you can copy the build and understand it, that's the whole point of making builds, is to make it useful. And I'm hoping like the stuff, like when I show the builds and stuff, it makes sense, because there's a lot of times where I show builds, I don't really need to explain anything, because I've been doing that since Extreme first came out. So like 8-9 months ago, I've been doing the same routine. When I do talk about builds, I talk in like a specific video, so I don't have to go over the builds constantly, because the builds are pretty much different variation, and it's just more like what are your setups and stuff. That's like the source skills and everything are pretty much similar. As long as you understand that, you're good to go, no matter how the builds change. And for the veterans, once you look at it, you'll know. When I look at any builds people create, or they have, or if there's any, like, I pretty much know what it is, because I'm testing a lot of builds that I have, and I use them quite a bit, and I do try out a lot of varieties and see what we really need. Sometimes there's no like the best of the best build out there. There's builds that can kill stuff. That's what a build is for. In this game, you're not gonna get the best build. It's gonna do everything. So there will be builds that just get it done. That's what it is in this game. So there's no game-breaking builds or anything. But I mean, if you want to talk about that, I know that will go to the 1 down kill buff. That's pretty much gonna instant, like, yeah, that's pretty much the highest level of the build at the moment, if you want to talk about insane DPS and stuff. But the other build I want to talk about is the hazard build. The hazard build is the fundamental, pretty much, where everything started is the hazard build. I showed it countless times from many videos. Like the video I don't name, like 1 down kill, it's usually hazard build. It's the fundamental. This is the build that I recommend people to use, because it works for every weapons, and it works for pretty much every rate. 1 down kill does not work for every rate, because if you go to higher level rates, yeah, you're not gonna have enough accuracy to 1 down kill bosses. And as for the hazard build, it will always work. Just remember, hazard build will always work. Like the highest difficulty right now is East Extreme Death Game. Hazard build can get it done. So hazard build is the most fundamental. The 1 down kill is the variation of the hazard build, but this is where everything started. That's where, the basic. All you need is a incarnation, the violent flash, and then the armor. That's all you need basically, and then a hazard. Not hazard, a crit, abyssal ring, or anything with a crit that's really high. As for the boots, it's optional. If you want to do 2-2, you don't need it. As for 3, yes, and 4, definitely. So when it comes to 1 down build, when I show, I basically use the incarnation. The armor don't matter. The armor is just basically for the accuracy. I just need to hit the enemy. Other than that, it doesn't really affect anything. But the skill connection, that extra one, that's what you need to get to a 4th without using food or anything. But other than that, yep, the most like two like fundamental, I mean not fundamental, the fundamental build is the hazard build. But the harder build is 1 down. I don't recommend people to do 1 down builds yet because there's too much technicals. You have to farm a lot of stuff, and it kind of sucks. There's a lot of stuff to set up with the 1 down kill builds, and definitely not recommend from the very beginning to pick it up, because first of all you have to understand the fundamental, you know, to begin with, like the hazard build, and you really don't need 1 down unless you just want to, you know, go for it for fun, where you actually have to farm stuff. And you know, when it comes to the like the buffs and the passives always will be similar, because let's face it, there's not many passive in this game actually work. So that's why you'll see the constant same passives over and over. Is usually you need more accuracy or you need less, then you can put more DPS passive on. And then as for the EX for the builds, it's either mostly Berserker, because that will give you more damage. And if you want to go for the West, definitely prefer to have the passive with the Cackling Devastator and the AoE, which the other EX skill is called it's called a Buffer, which will give you 100% more like radius and effects. So those two combined, you can hit more parts and wider area. That's why when it comes to, you know, multi enemies, multi parts, I use those combos. And when those two combines, they're very powerful, especially for the multi enemies, you know. So that's pretty much it for the build briefly. And because, you know, I explained so many times throughout the entire, you know, SAO for the one until now, I kept explaining, so I don't make the I try not to make the same explanation every time. This is why I don't explain in every single video, because there's really no point to explain the similar thing over and over. And if you want to understand how the build specific works, hazard build, 1 down builds, I have those videos in the playlist. And let's move on to the next topic. Number 3, customization. This is the most important, pretty much out of any topics, like one of the most important, if not the most important one, because customization is really the center of the DPS, and it's pretty much where you can destroy the raids. That's how you get that's how you see those crazy insane amount of damage, and it's based on how you customize the sword skills. The damage comes from, you know, the items that you get, like the accessories, the armors. So what it does is just basically boost the damage, as you can see. It'll boost up the perimeters, everything, but I will go to main and stuff in a bit. But yeah, basically that's where you get all the damage, and that's why many times I mentioned do not focus on the main except the accuracy, which means this part. Do not worry about anything here, because it doesn't really matter too much. Now this accuracy is it only matters if you press X to down the enemy, which is why sometimes I have the high armors. So like unless you're dual wield, you don't need to down enemy with the X. You can do it with a sword skill, which the sword skill you can have higher accuracy. It's much easier. But as for pretty much all the other 9 weapons, you won't be able to use sword skill to down enemy as easy as this, you know, dual wield. I know there's some sword skill you can down enemy with the with other like weapons like rapier, like Star Splash and stuff, but there's no sword skill like the dual wield. Basically, it's just insane. So going back to the customization, things you need to know are the adjustment. Basically, the adjustments are important. That's where we'll tell you where the most of the DPS comes from. As I explained many times, strength and agility for starburst. Just use it as for example. That's where you want to put the most out of it as possible. You know, the other thing is the strength will always work for pretty much any build. Strength's always fine because you'll get attack. And the other one is just figured out what the other one needs for the adjustment. Like vitality is not really good. It's hard to make a build from vitality because not many good accessories. So you might as well just use strength base. So basically, strength works everything. But yeah, like for the simple builds customization, the most thing you're gonna see out of the DPS are steel armor, Ragnar armor, and the aberrant armor. Those are the three, but the DPS must have down the Rakshasa incarnation plus 80% if you want the most damage out of anything. As for the passive, you don't really need it, plus or minus that, it doesn't matter too much. It's just I already farmed it back then, so I might as well keep using it. As for some of the items, it's up to you. You know, you can use many items, necklace, whatever rings, whatever gauntlet, anything, totally fine. You know, there's no one way of making, like I said, you know, earlier, there's no one way of making a build. You will see, you know, you can make a variety of builds with different accessories. So it's just what I use majority of the time. It's my build, what I want to use, and you know, I choose whatever is the best option if it's possible when it comes to, you know, sword skill customization. You know, how to optimize it and, you know, get the most out of it. Some people might like to run other stuff, or some people just don't have the gears. That's completely fine. You know, just use whatever you have and you don't have to worry too much. And I will talk about the stats, you know, like the stats on the gears later. So that's pretty much explains the sword skill briefly, and DPS and customization is just DPS. That's what it is. Other than that, you know, like hazard, the other sword skill you can hazard. You know, sword skill can do debuff as well, so that's another thing. That's why I have so many different variation of debuff. You know, for like different characters, and I actually, you know, quite enjoy using debuff. They're pretty interesting besides just DPS constantly. You know, debuff's always fun, especially when you play with when you play online with a friend or something. It is important to have a debuffer because it will make the raid so much easier. I mean, you do 3 guys DPS is more than enough. Technically, like 1 guy DPS and 1 guy debuff is already enough to take out all the raids. So yeah, having a debuff with a sword skill like the slow, it's important. You know, like the rapier slow, the dagger slow. But yeah, everything I covered, it's like all you want to, you know, learn, you know where to find it. Number 4, buff and debuff. So 2 things are very important. They're both different, but in a way of similar. Buff is more like, you know, make your character OP. You know, debuff is to make the enemy, you know, less OP, where you can hit more, or if you want to slow them. Basically, how the buff system works in this game is there's a cap: 100% attack, 100% defense, 100% speed. I think crit you can go up to above like 100, but I think not with 3 Tiger Resolve plus 100%. So you can go up, you can have a killing blow on top of the 2 Tiger Resolve and it's completely fine. And other than that, yeah. So like the special accuracy debuffs, how far you can go, I think is 150%, which is kind of high, but we really never need as much special accuracy or have room for it as a debuffer. So, you know, like for Riona, Wit's End debuff. So the other thing is I want to talk about is the customization for the buff and debuff. The customization for the debuffs are pretty similar. If I want to use Mind Break, I need accuracy. I need accuracy to hit the mind break. It's never special accuracy. So customization, simple, high accuracy, period. There's no need anything else. As for special accuracy debuffs, high special accuracy based, and you can get that, and then you can get some passives. You know, anything with a high special accuracy, it's good. That's how you run debuffs. You know, when it comes to the same as sword skill. Like sword skill uses special accuracy as well, because the sword skills, it takes quite a bit. It actually takes more than Wit's End, which is crazy. I mean, not really, because if you think about it, if the sword skill takes less than Wit's End, you're pretty much gonna constantly hitting that. Like Tri Pierce and the Armor Pierce, dang, that's like minus, it's like minus like 30% and minus 50% defense. Like it's over. It's pretty much over when those land on the bosses, so they will die super fast. The other thing I want to talk about is like what to customize for the buff. And the buff is pretty simple. Cooldown incarnation, you'll pretty much see all the time. You know, the armor, it doesn't matter which one, choose whatever you like. I just pick something, you know, like, you know, minus, you know, SP consumption. It's good, always good. And never forget the other two, the cooldown, the talisman from the South Ray, and the cloak from the Centauria, where you can craft that. Those are minus 10%. And it's really good because when you use a hazard build, the buffs comes back fast. And you know, for a long fight, you want the buff comes back as fast as possible, and it's very important. Other than that, you're pretty much just gonna see those two different versions if you want to, and mind break, the accuracy, you know, the debuff, the buff, and mind break, you know, where you need to use accuracy. And yeah, the buffs are pretty simple in this game. If you want to remember this, it's pretty easy. It's just trying to get two speed, 2 crits. I mean, like 2 Sword of Goddesses, that gives speed. 2 Reaper, 2 Tiger, that's DPS, and you know, 2 Galvanize. You have to, so you can go back and forth. You know, cool down like stuff. You can wait, but other than that, you can have 3 if you want to. Other than that, you can add anything you want, because the focal points are usually those buffs that I mentioned with the 2s. And Billion Blossom, if it's optional, if you want to use it or not. Other than that, yeah. And you know, sometimes you see me have multiple speeds because I want to get the speed, you know, to 100% if it's possible, because the fastest you hit, the more damage you'll do. And the other buff that I really recommend people to use is the God Roll Warrior, because this thing will save you a lot. It saves you a lot. I mean, for people who just started the game, I recommend to unlock this, and then you'll be fine, because you're pretty much not gonna worry about like dying as much. I mean, you're still gonna have to worry about, you know, the God Roll does not protect you from the what's it called, the projectiles. It only protects you from physical, so you still have to watch out when they shoot a beam at you or throw a rock at you. You still can get killed. So this is like the recommendation for, you know, a good buff to put it on. As for, you know, internal buff, if you worry about, you know, survivabilities and stuff. Other than that, yeah, the buffs are pretty simple in this game. You just optimize it, you know. You know, if you want speed, you can get a lot of, you know, get speed buffs. If you want crits, just get crit buffs. If you want the DPS, you know, trying to look for something increase either attack or sword skills or crit, you know, damage. You know, that's it. The buff limits are 20, and just make sure you don't go over it, because otherwise you're gonna end up over buffing yourself, which I did talk about this a while ago. Just remember, go to the skill tree, and let's see, my Sword of Goddess is all up because I was using the arena. So each tick here, you see plus 10, plus 5, plus 10%, you know, each of those, it takes 1 buff slot. So I think this Sword of Goddesses takes about 4, maybe. I think it's 4 buff slot, 4 or 5, I don't remember, but somewhere there. Oops, let me go back. So 4-ish, and if you have this buff like with these ticks on, you're gonna get over buff for all the buffs. So just be careful with like how many buff limit you can have. So it's not like I can have all these tree open and then the ticks open and then yeah, I'm gonna use 20 buffs combined, but at that point it might be just more than just 20. And just remember that it's how you optimize these builds. That's why I recommend to have the pluses. The pluses skills are always good because they take one buff slot, and that's why you also see me why I use the equipments that has the combat skill on it. It's very useful, you know, like the Reaper, it takes one buff slot. I don't have to worry about it too much, and it's all good, you know. It comes down to like how you optimize the buffs and how you use the buff, you know. So I won't go in too deep with the buffs, you know, and it's gonna be a while. Like all the stuff that I mentioned are pretty much, you know, all you gotta know, you know. It's like if you want to know even more, that's where you'll go specific into the buffs and stuff. So with the amount of times that in this video, because I need to cover a lot more topics, I won't go into it, and I'm gonna move on to the next one. Number 5, Super Art. Super Art is amazing in this game because I love it. What it gives is like you don't use SP while you're in the Super Art, you know. So you'll be able to do even more damage, more than, you know, finish art, more than ally skill, more than, you know, release recollection or whatever, you know, etc. This thing is just amazing when it comes to DPS, because you'll be able to spam as much as you can, you know, during that period of time. And also you don't have to wait till the R gadget is actually full. You can activate Super R as long as you have about like maybe 10% or somewhat, a little bit more, somewhere around there. I don't know what exactly the percentage is, but you can activate Super R at will. But you just can't use it, you know, when it's at a tiny bit. So that's the only time you can't really use it. But other than that, Super R beats everything. With all pretty much no finish R can catch it, you know, for sure. So if you want to look for the most DPS, Super R. Number 6, Persona and Anima. So Persona and Anima is basically bonuses. The most recommendations are the Nimble for the accuracy, Berserker DPS, which you can lock on. So I don't really use it as much. I used to, but it still works. Fiery for more crits if you don't, plus 50% more crits if you don't use Tiger Resolve. Born Leader is definitely recommended for AI, because they can, in order to share some buffs like Bulwark, Tiger Resolve, you need the skill to be able to share it. Plus you don't have to use the what's it called, Body of Sage, where that's gonna mess up everything. That was such a troll when people used Body of Sage back in the day, but now you just don't. Born Leader is much better in a version of sharing buffs, you know, from your AI to you, but mainly just the 2 sword skill. I mean the 2 buff, the Bulwark and Tiger Resolve. Those are the OP one, which you can only get it, you know, from your AI when you equipped this persona. And other than that, you know, like not many good ones. You know, Prodigy is really good if you want the speed, and you know, other than that, nah, not many good ones. And as for Anima, there's definitely not gonna be even more. You know, like the Uptides, and it's probably my favorite. Just damage. That's it. You know, Luckster, it'll be useful if you use for farm materials, because it'll give you chance of giving more than one, and it's pretty nice. Other than that, yeah, not much. Caution is really good, especially on your AI, because sometimes I don't want the enemy to aggro on me. I just put that on my AI and use them to run, and enemy pretty much don't spot me at all. Other than that, yep, Persona and Anima, pretty simple in this game. It's just those are the few that I mentioned. Is pretty much all you need for the entire game at the moment. Unless they add more in the future, that's good, but I don't see it's gonna change anytime sooner. When it comes to art codes and stuff, it's complex. I'm not gonna go crazy and explain the art codes, because art code is actually one of the hardest things to learn in this game. Like basically how you set up your AI and what you want them to do. That's it. You know, if you want AI to spam sword skill, that's what you need. You know, download the sword skills, certain things. You know, so etc. I did explain the R code in a different video, but if you guys are interested, you know, that will be better way for me to explain R code, because it's just too much of stuff in our code that needs to explain in this game. So yeah, number 7, the main perimeter versus the sub perimeter. This is my favorite topic to discuss. I talked about quite a bit. You know, I always mention the main versus the sub. What are the differences? Your sword skill takes the sub perimeter, so obviously the more the better, because the adjustment and stuff. Sword skill do not take anything from the main perimeter, so forget about that. That's why you see like the stats here don't really matter too much, because what matter is these increase. Those are important. I mean, it's good to see these numbers, but it doesn't make that much useful. But the accuracy is useful out of anything. The accuracy is always useful, because this game is accuracy, so without accuracy you're not going to do anything. And that doesn't matter how much your damage is. If you can't hit, you're not going to do anything. So sword skill in keywords, sub perimeter, that's for the damage and matching accuracies. Like as for the main perimeter, not so much, because if you can increase 100 attack plus increase 100 strength. 100 strength will overpower that 100 attack easily by a lot exponential, so therefore, you know, there's no need to worry about, you know, main perimeter as much, because a lot of people just get accessory trying to increase the attack. It will work. Nah, sword skill takes these. They don't take anything over here, so you don't have to worry about the main perimeter as much. You know, the other thing is I want to talk about is this part, you know, which I already did, you know. So the front part, it actually does absolutely nothing, so don't worry about it, because if you like to press square, that's where you'll get the main attack here. Other than that, nope. Then you won't ever need it. The evades and stuff, you can't really evade like extreme bosses. You just can't, because they require so much, you know, evasion to even evade one of their attacks. So other than that, nope. Accuracy important. This is the only main perimeter in the main page, you know, the status, that's important, just to press X down. Other than that, nope. So when it comes back to, you know, the main versus sub over main, that's what the most important key point is. The sub bigger than main. So when it comes to damage customization, other than that, focus on pay attention to the accuracy, what you need, the requirement for the boss. That's it. Number 8, how to use AI in this game. So AIs are important in this game. Now I'm not talking about wayfarers, you know, like people's avatar, you know. I'm talking about actual NPC here that you can change their stuff, you know. It's good to have these NPCs, but like, or people's avatar, your friend's avatar, but when it comes to most useful, like the most efficient, it's your AIs, you know, the characters. So in other words, is how you use them and what you use them for. So like I say, I already mentioned that you can either use them as a buff, a debuff, that's pretty much it, or a tank. Other than that, yeah, those are the usually 3 options you can really use the AIs. And how you use them is like, when I talk about how to use them, it's like, do you know when to use the buffs from them? You know, when you know how to swap them for use certain buffs. You know, like during the fights and stuff. You know, how to control your AI when it comes to, you know, changing, you know, swap your partner buff and that kind of stuff. That you have to practice to use AIs, because there's really no explanation how you would, you know, get better at use AIs in this game, besides, you know, take the AI, go to the you know, raids or something, play with them, and then get used to switching them. So other than that, there really is no really simple answer to how am I gonna use this AI and how am I gonna use that. You know, when it comes to buff AI, you just have to switch them and use the buffs, you know, that's it. When it comes to debuff, you just switch to them, use debuff, that's it. There's not much. But when it comes to the AI that you want them to do things where you don't have to command them to do, it's like, you know, for example, I like to have a rapier and a dagger used on a separate team when they're hitting the slow. That's like where you'll have to set up the art codes for it, and basically they'll do it themselves. All you gotta do is just give them enough accuracy and special accuracy, and that's it. Number 9, grinding / farming. So like sword skills, 3 stars. Yes, it's gonna take a very long time for some of the sword skills, and it is difficult to get the 3 star. Like for the 2-hand calamity, oh my goodness, that took so long. So like sword skill mastery, 3 stars, you'll get more DPS. You know, some people might wondering why you're doing so much more damage than you are. It's either I have more sword skill mastery, or I mean I have a max sword skill mastery, or I have better gears. That's what it is, you know. If you're using the same amount of buff and you still do less damage than me, it's probably because of mastery, the sword skill mastery, and the gears, you know, stats. That's where I'm talking about, like the stats, you know, like they really like important, especially when it comes to if you want, you know, like the max DPS and stuff. So I mean, grinding in this game is actually difficult. Like the RNG is insane, you know. It's okay, you know, you're not the only one suffering grinding. I grind a lot, so it is really hard to grind. I mean, I don't have the best RNG. I mean, you see, like I have good, really, you know, god roll gears, but do you know how much time I spend on grinding them? So yeah, some people might say, hey, I did the you know, raids for like 50 times and I never got anything, and I don't feel like grinding anymore. But look, I grind the raids for thousands times just to get certain item. Like, it's no joke. It is really takes about, you know, it took about like thousands times. Like, it's really difficult for some of the items to get. Like, especially you look for a god roll gear, yes, it will take you a long time. I mean, come on, it's a god roll gear. I mean, unless you have insane RNG, you're most likely not gonna get it. You're gonna have to really farm for it. So that's why when it comes to DPS, you want to see the max or close to max DPS, you're gonna need to farm for the stats, the max stats, and the sword skill proficiency, like the max, the 3-star basically. So you'll do more damage, and this is why it's important. I mean, I grind pretty much all the weapons. Like, oh my goodness, it's painful, but you know, it's worth it when it's done. That's only if you want to, you know. I put that if. Not everybody needs to grind so hard in this game. That's only if you like to grind, that is. But you know, don't complain about I can't get this and that because I don't like grinding. I mean, you already know what grinding is basically. So you know, there's other people who actually grind a lot. I mean, I always respect people who grind a lot, you know, farm for the gear and stuff, because I know what they've been through, you know. So if you want something, you have to go get it. It's gonna be there, you know. Always, it's not gonna be there. You have to put, you know, effort into it. It's painful going through thousands of times for the raids just to get a certain item, because oof, like I've done it many times. Like I'm not gonna even explain it, because the playtime I have for this game is 3K, almost a 3K hours, and there probably will be even more when DLC comes out. I am curious to see what I'm gonna have in the future. But you know, if you think if you think it's bluffing, but here you go. I mean, the best way to show it is just to, you know, go to the profile, I suppose. Since the PS5 has a tracking system, yeah, it is quite insane. But like I say, you know, I did spend like a lot of time grinding in this game. It's just nothing comes easy when it's, you know, RNG. You know, thousands time for the raid, hey, I mean, that's still pretty lucky, you know, to get a god roll, because this RNG in this game is just really bad, like, no joke. It's really bad for me. But for, you know, like, hey, for example, Sports always gets stuff that whatever he wants, so it's so easy for him to get certain items. He always get it before I do most of the time. So yeah, it's crazy, you know, some people got like good RNG, some people got bad RNG, and it just comes down to how much, or if you're lucky, or if you're not, then you gotta work for it. But, you know, brings back to IFT. You know, none of this stuff that I mentioned you really need to do. Honestly, if you don't need to grind, you know, just pick up a gear or something. You can beat the raids. You can, you know. But if you want to be a high raid, like higher arena, yes, you do need somewhat of decent gear. If you want to go even higher, yes, it will comes down to almost perfect gears. You will definitely need perfect gears for the high raids and high arenas, because if you want to speed farm something, you got to have some gears. I mean, you can't speed farm a 200 with like a level like plus 5 gears. Like, I mean, you can, but you know, you're gonna take more work into it if you don't have anything. So it's more like you have to prepare, you know, for some of the higher rate, because I think when Supreme comes out, yes, I think some of the gears right now probably not gonna be even useful over there. That's what I'm guessing. But yeah, who knows? Because, you know, like I say, when it comes down to grinding, the sword skill mastery, it's important. The stats are important. You know, like the armor, the rings, the gauntlet, the necklace, or whatever, anything with like high stats. If you want it, then you really have to farm it, unless you're just lucky. But how many of you guys are lucky? Honestly, not really. I mean, a lot of time, only thing I heard is the RNG is bad. I never get anything I want, you know, in this game. Like, it's the same, you know, I never get anything I want. I mean, I can get close to it, but I'm never gonna get like, oh, I want a perfect staff for this one. Nah, no, never. Because it's just so hard. I mean, you can get close to it, that's it, but you're not gonna get exactly what you wanted. But sometimes just take whatever you have and use it. It's okay, you know, you don't have to get a better one at all. But the bottom line is, grinding in this game is really tough. So if you want something like the stuff like I have, you're gonna have to farm pretty hard for it. So yeah, I'm just excited to see, you know, anybody just gonna, you know, walk into the raid first time, get everything, you know, done, you know, just like get all the gears done, get everything, you know, that's just gonna be insane. I mean, not many people is gonna be like that. Majority of people that I talk to or I play with, they spend like hundreds, if not thousands, hours to farm stuff. So it's crazy. Some of the items I still don't even have it for a god roll right now, because even after so much time spent on it. But you know, if you just play for fun, you can ignore any of the mastery and stuff. You can ignore farming perfect gears, you know. Like I say, it's just grinding. It's a thing in this game. It's not mandatory. It's up to you whether you want to do it or not. So that's why, you know, when some people come to me and say that, you know, why I'm not doing as much as you do, and, you know, like that, I just pointed out, you know, I farm for the gears and I have star masteries. That's why I'm hitting so much more, or if a little bit more, you know, they're important. And other than that, you know, so it's just, it comes down to gears, like sword skill masteries and stuff. So buff, we can use all the, we can all use the same buff, not a problem. But, you know, if the gears are a little bit higher, and, you know, the 3-star, it actually gives you more damage boost, so it's different. Now, if you compare a 2-star to 3-star, you can see a little, well, if not like a big differences, then you'll see somewhat of differences, and that's probably where you're missing out, you know, and the gears and etc. Other than that, you know, grinding does pay off sometimes in this game, but I love grinding. Like a lot of RPG game I play, I love grinding, because without grinding, it's just I beat the story, I'm done with it. If you're that kind of person, then you don't have to worry about, you know, grinding in general, because it's just, this game is pretty simple. You just gotta, you can use pretty much anything you pick up, you know, in a decent amount of stats to be majority of the contents in this game. You don't have to worry about. But if you want like the max, you know, the best DPS, like the best setups, you know, the end game, the end game builds and everything. That's where I would use, you know, the stuff that I use. Yeah, sure. Some people say you kept using those god roll gears, which I don't have. But the thing is, it don't really matter, honestly. I mean, I can still use other gear. I can still beat it. It's not like that much of differences. It just depends on. It comes down to how much time. You know, so if I want to make a video for 3 minutes rather than make a video for 10 minutes, you know, so you get to see the point. And so I just want to make it, you know, easier, because in the end of the day, you just have to get the gear in, period. Last but not least, number 10, practice. With that being said, everything I just said, I mean, you can't just have the knowledge and not put the knowledge into use. So I can give you all the builds, all the explanation, everything, but in the end, it comes down to you have to use it. You have to try it. You know, you have to do it, because without, you know, practice and stuff, it doesn't matter. I mean, I can learn this thing, but if I don't use it, I don't understand how it works. And basically the same thing I talked about back then. You can copy a build, but do you understand how the build works? It comes down to that, you know. So that's why I say it's good to learn the fundamental, and that way you'll never forget it. So no matter how things change, and practice is important in this game, because I practice so much, you know, like the journey from the beginning till now, it's crazy, you know, how mastery the game is just, it's difficult, actually, not gonna lie, because I said it back then, you know, if you ever watch my old videos, oh boy, like the East at level 50, that was like an hour plus minute. That was like almost no time left on the clock. And do you know how long it took me just to beat that? It actually took me 2 weeks. 2 weeks of practice. Like, I failed quite a bit of time. I almost rage. I'm like, you know what? Screw it. I'm just not gonna do it. But you know what? I'm like, I'm just gonna go for it. It comes down to either I do it or I just give up. You know, it's like the practice is important. You know, like I've learned a lot from just testing. You know, playing the game. If you got an idea, put it to use. You know, try it. You know, hey, it doesn't hurt. Practice will make you better. Does not make you perfect, but makes you better. So it takes a lot of effort. It basically comes down to effort, you know, how much you want to improve in the game. You know, for me, not many games like AL that I really care for, you know, like if I want to go for depth and stuff, I go, you know, as far as I can, you know. It's just, if you like something, then you'll work for it. That's why, you know, like I say, no matter how, you know, people say, hey, you know, you play a lot and then I don't see a point, you know, but the thing is, I like something, so it's irrelevant what other people say. You know, it's up to you whether you like to do it or not, because it's not somebody who tell you they don't play it. You don't have to play it too. I mean, it's up to you. So it's basically, you know, just, you have to, first of all, you have to play to understand, you know, play more, because even all these stuff that I talk about or I teach for the past, I mean, it's actually a year now, so almost a year, but it's been long, a very long time. If I ever look back, I'm like, dang, that's a long time if I ever thought about, because back then when I first made the video, it was just for, you know, West and East, because back then people were just like, it's impossible to be West and East, and that was it. That was the only reason I made it. And then I was never a solo player, because I had no idea how to play this game back in the day. You know how I got here is learning, you know, learning from friends, learning by yourself. Yeah, that's why it's great. You know, I'm glad I have, you know, a lot of people, you know, like Luca, Sports, you know, Napier, and then like Holy Knight Elites, or you know, those, they're awesome. You know, learning this game is fun. for me. I'm not speaking for everybody, but you know, that's how I got to this point, you know. From, if you ever, like I say, if you ever watch the old video, you'll know the struggle, because sometimes whatever in the video, like, you might not be able to tell, but like some video, it took me a long time to practice to make. It's not even easy to make, but at this point, yeah, it's pretty much normal for me because I've already done it so many times. But in the end, it's just spend a lot of time on it from anything. So, you know, understand the game more depth. You know, I didn't know this game, you know, like when the first I picked up the game, I'll be same as pretty much anybody who started this game. I had no idea what's going on. It's just how much, you know, you want to learn and how much will you have to learn. It's not easy, I can tell you. Like, despite I give you all the explanation, all the answers, you might still struggle, but that's okay, you know. Struggle is part of the learning, so it's okay. Dude, I'm like, I died many times in this game. Like when I'm learning, make video, whatever, it's just frustrated. It can be frustrated, but you know, in the end of the day, hey, that's what make great. That's what the, you know, experience for. It's actually really nice to see like the road that traveled from like that long ago, because when I look back, like, dang, even though I'm just, because like when I make the AL videos, majority of them I just want to make it for fun. That's about it, because I didn't really thought about it. I want to continue to make AL videos or not, because I could have just stopped anytime I wanted. Because I mean majority of the time I just, like, you know, back then when Extreme came out, most people just stopped making videos and stuff. Like, I was really want to look for a build, you know, like how do you do extreme raids, how do you do this and that, but nah, there's not many videos out there, or if there's any videos out there to actually really helps, because even their helps, they don't, like I say, there's no explanation or anything. It's kind of hard to learn, but you know, best friends are from the JP, you know, the Japanese. Watch their video, they don't explain. Hey, I watched the video from the scrap, like the hazard builds and other stuff. I learned from them from the scrap. There was no explanation. That was just built. They just play it, then show the build. That's how I learned this build. I didn't even, like, even when I was first time, you know, learn the hazard, I'm like, what the heck is this? And when I try to use it, I'm like, it doesn't make any sense. Like, how does this work? Like, that's the pretty much the example of, you know, copy a build. Like, I copy the build, but I don't know how it works. So therefore, it's not really useful because I don't know how it works. And it comes down to understand the depth. So basically, I practice a lot, learn a lot, you know, because you can't just look at the build and get it and just like, oh, this is how it works. Yeah, I mean, some people might get it, but most people, like, when they first start playing it, they're not gonna get it. So yeah, it just comes down to practice and use that knowledge, and it's very difficult. I'm gonna tell you, AL is a difficult game, you know, like the combat system and stuff. It's actually pretty difficult. You actually have to understand the combat system in this game to consider, like, pretty much mastery this game, to go for a higher end contents and stuff. I go depth into pretty much like the mechanic and stuff. That's a little bit different. I mean, just think about this. Basically, you're learning, like, basically, like, you're learning. If your degree is a PhD and stuff, you'll go into specific depth into a, you know, the thing. So it's, for most people, they will be like, you know, college, graduate, you know, like get your bachelor degrees, just finish. That's the surface of the game. Like, basically, you finish the normal raid, you're done with the story, you finish the normal raid, you get some gear, you just scratch the surface. You go in deeper and deeper in depth of the game to learn even more stuff. That's only if you need to. That's why, you know, like, nope, not everybody's gonna be a PhD, you know, but everybody can take a PhD, but it will take time and effort, and if you really like to learn it. And that's why I say, you know, you can be the person that who just do the story and play some game. That's completely fine. If you want to go depth into the game and understand the game more, it takes time. But you know, I'm just glad I can, you know, give out these, teach these information and stuff. Like all the stuff that I, you know, explain and teach, they're the stuff that I learned from like the very beginning when I first started. They're all experience, you know, the stuff that I test, learn, and from you know, people that I, you know, around with, and people still working the game together and stuff. So it's pretty enjoyable actually. Alright people, I hope you guys understand the way how pretty much the AI works. I mean, it's just too much to talk about. I mean, I don't even know how long is this video, to be honest. It is a very, very long topic, and I will put it into my front page over the how to prep for extreme now. I will swap this to the main because it is actually more better for people who, you know, started the game and learn everything, because that those the 10 key points that I mentioned, I mean, I could add more into it, but are the main ones you pretty much need to know, and you'll be fine with this game, like until, like, you know, the end game. This is pretty much the well, let's say the formula for this game, you know, to understand the combat and stuff, mastery it, and you know, everything else is pretty much easy, like knowledge and stuff. I'm not going to, like, you know, knowledge and how the story gonna work. I'm not that kind of. I'm mainly just how to play this game. That's it, how to play it. And most people probably want to know how to play it too, you know, rather than just, I mean, I know there's some, you know, some people probably just enjoy the story. I get them, that's okay, you know, not a big deal. But you know, for people who want to understand the game depth even more, that's the stuff that you'll pretty much will need to learn and to get to further and understand how this game works, period. And yeah, this SAO game is actually more technical than the other SAO games, because a lot of stuff they don't explain, and you know, it's not gonna be as you know, just hack and slash everything. You gotta know what to use and stuff. It's not as easy, but you know, a lot of stuff to learn in this game, a lot. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. Oh boy, I'm tired of talking actually. It's such a long topic, but I'm hope this video helps from any degree of players, you know, from the start, from the beginning, you know, fine, from middle, that's fine, from the end game contents people, or want to just completely master the game, completely fine, you know, any. So, you know, I always appreciate you guys to, you know, support and watch, you know, videos, and then, yeah, always appreciate it, because like I say, you know, making videos, it's pretty much for fun, but you know, the other keyboard is, hey, without you guys, I wouldn't be here. So yeah, like I say, much appreciated, and hopefully the DLCs, it's gonna be awesome. I can't wait. And the dev's gonna have a stream on October 3rd. If there's any news, I will put it out. I will make a news for it. And yeah, and with that being said, this is probably the longest video I ever made. I mean, well, in terms of explaining stuff. But if I want to explain more stuff, like every single point, this will be a multi-hour video, so I'm not gonna do that. It's easier just tell you these are the key points and briefly go over it. If you want to go depth into it, check the explanation playlist. I have pretty much everything on there, and I'll probably end up adding more stuff in the future if there's new stuff or things to change or things I discover, anything, things that you want to learn, that you want to hear me talking, are in the explanation video. Other than that, it's just builds videos and other etc. And yeah, I'm just glad that, you know, the well, I mean, I actually made it till the end of this video, because dang, this is a long time, actually, very long time. So yeah, I hope you guys enjoy it. Next time, come back. There will be plenty of more surprises. Alright, until next time.